So it's looking like it's going to be the 13th to be out there?
Yeah,
Or the
I've called.
15th?
I've called Brian a couple times. I haven't been able to get a hold of him. I want to confirm which ship and if in fact it is on the ship and which ship and what day it's arriving and what day it's departed, and so we have all the information available so we don't just go
Well, it's
booking flights.
supposedly on the Green Bay. We can bring Green Bay up on the thing. It says it's going to be that it left June 3rd and it's supposed to.
Supposed to be in June 3rd. Right?
No, I think it said left June 3rd.
Yeah.
And then it would make sense that it's going to be here like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
But what you were looking at the other day and saying it had to go to Los Angeles first, the one that I saw was just going straight from Kawasaki or wherever it was in Japan and right to Vancouver. And it had the dates that Brian was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm, as I said, I want to confirm with Brian
Yeah.
before we do anything.
Oh yeah, well that was the plan anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so now I'm gonna try and convince him to let me order a vehicle from over there. There's another truck exactly like yours, except 1 year newer,
Yeah.
and it's, I think, it only has 198,000 on it, and he's selling that one for 11 grand all in. So
And newer than mine.
1 year. I'm tempted. I really am.
And it's a right-hand drive too.
Yeah,
And it's a diesel.
and it's a diesel. I'm tempted to
And I'll
order
be
it.
jealous because it's nicer than mine. And I paid more for mine.
Maybe, maybe not. I imagine that the price is lower because it might have an issue with it, or it might be a little more rust or something. So
Well, I don't know. Hard to say. Like it's still a, kind of like a pig in a poke. Like when we get there, that's when you will see what you got.
yeah, I mean he sends pretty detailed pictures. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it seemed like they didn't shy away from trouble areas and stuff.
yeah. No, that one rad support there looks rusty, but it's not rotten.
It's surface
It's
rust.
just surface rust.
I mean, it just smear some grease on that. It'll be good for another 20 years.
Yeah, literally. No, I think if I get one, I'd do that and then have it undercoated.
I wouldn't have it undercoated, but I would have it oiled.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. The oiled undercoat.
My first girlfriend, Val, her dad had a nice Mercedes,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked good underneath because it had Z-Bart,
Yep.
but the Z-Bart had cracked and everything rotted in between.
Oh.
And it's like at one point, like he had Z-Bart but no floor.
Yeah.
And then when the
kinda
Z-Bart went, like it was like there was nothing.
Yeah, because the Z-bar kind of traps in the.
Yeah, it trapped the moisture there, so it always rusted. It didn't blow dry when you were driving or anything.
Yeah. That and
And-
oil and water repel each other. So.
Yeah, and there was no oil on the metal because they cleaned that all off to try and get a good bond with the Z-Bar. But if it lets go, there's no protection.
Yeah.
Whereas the oil has a tendency to creep, get into the spots where water would go.
Yeah. Because depending on what type of oil they use, it could be like water.
So that works a lot better.
Yeah. I know. I'm considering it.
Like my tailgate on that is like the worst rust part, but it was a design problem. because the tailgate didn't drain properly.
Right.
Because there's a dam in there that blocks the water from getting to the drains.
Yeah.
And like you couldn't drain it until you lifted it halfway up and got the water to spill over the dam, and then it would start running out of the drain holes.
Yeah, that's.
So I drilled holes on both sides of that dam,
Mhm.
and now it drains all the time. I don't think I'm ever going to have any problem. It's just that it looks like shit because I patched it with roofing tar.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it. I mean, it kind of blends in though.
Oh yeah,
Black
it's
on
black
black,
as
so-
black. It's just it has a little patina,
Yeah.
but it gives me a good seal,
Mhm.
so I don't end up getting a lot of water in the tailgate anymore anyway.
Right.
But it was actually, creating steam in there and like leaving the inside of that tailgate exposed to the steam over and over and over again because the water would, every time the sun hit it or whatever, and it was the top corners that rotted out
Yeah,
because that's where the steam went.
Steam, yeah. Steam, the heat makes the water rise and then things in the steam.
Yeah, and of course I had to replace the rack for the window because that rusted off.
Yeah. Same thing happened in my Golf. I've had to.
Are you driving it now, the Golf?
No, I gotta go to Service Ontario this week and hand them the safety to register it fully,
Mm-hmm.
take the temporary status off of it, and then I can drive it.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to do with it?
Drive it till it dies. Yeah. And when it dies, it's going to the scrapyard, or I'll try and sell it on Facebook.
Yeah. So you're going to just park your good car and just drive the other one?
Might depend on the day. Grandma does not want me parking the Golf in the driveway because it's leaking something.
Oh yeah.
I think it's antifreeze because it only leaks after it's been running for a while. It doesn't leak when it's just sitting there.
What happened the last time you checked rad hoses? Remember the car that was leaking? And you were thinking, oh, the rad's leaking and this and that?
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you went and checked it and
Yeah,
you tightened up the clamps on it?
Oh yeah, the clamp was loose. I remember that. Yeah, that was on the Civic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grandma's regretting making me get rid of that now because she's like, that would have been a lot better car than the Golf.
Mm-hmm.
And just a couple of little surface rust areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sandpaper that, put a piece of duct tape over it, and it would have passed the safety, but no. Get rid of it. Now I went out and bought a car that needed a ton of work. So,
You spent all the money on it that you saved up while you were working.
yeah. Oh well. You live, you learn, right?
Well, now that it's safety, actually you could turn around and get a buck for it. Somebody would buy it.
Yeah. I mean, it's safetied.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone with eyes can tell.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, you just put it up. It's functional, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Just as functional. Just leave it as that.
yeah.
No. I gotta do the exhaust system on it still because
But some kid who can't afford a car, pick up that, you sell it for what, $1,000? You get your money back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're probably not going to want to drive it, and you got no place to park it.
I got it at Leo's.
Well, I know, but you can leave it at Leo's. But I mean, what are you going to drive your car out there to pick that car up to go do the groceries?
Exactly what I'm gonna do. No, I'll drive out there and then just take the Golf for a rip and have fun with it. It's more of a fun car than a daily driver car.
Yeah. But it should be practical, you know, like,
Yeah,
hey,
well, in the summer I can park it on the road in front of the house.
yeah.
I'll probably do that for the summer. But then for the winter
And
time,
find out what's leaking.
find out what's leaking, fix it, and then there you go. That can be a winter.
Maybe it is a rat or something, you know, it just takes a while for it to build up when it's hot.
Yeah.
But who knows, maybe a jar of bars leak or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That part store that sold me the wrong coil decided to finally take it back. I've been after them like 2-3 times a week for the last 3 weeks about it, and they
Okay.
finally decided to take it back.
Well,
They sold me the wrong part. Like, that's not my fault. I gave them all the information and everything, but they sold me the wrong part. They sold me one for a Mark III, which is the year after mine,
yeah.
rather than a Mark II. So the coil won't even work, because the Mark II doesn't have computerized ignition. Still runs on points.
Mm.
It has direct injection, but it still runs on points. It's weird, but... And the one they gave me is for the electronic ignition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so... Ends up it wasn't a coil anyway, but
Right, well,
it was just a loose connection.
yeah. Well, there you go. See, with the Gulf now, if you got a leak there, you know, check it out. See if you can track it down. See where it's coming from. It might not be that hard to fix.
No,
I mean, this is your experience car anyway.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, I was out at Leo's last week and we fixed up 2 cars. We got 2 cars running. The one car he parked it months ago thinking he'd never drive it again because it's got electrical issues and he doesn't know what the electrical issue is. And Dodge can't even find out the electrical issues. Took me about 5 minutes to figure out what it was. When came here, got your wire wheel, fixed it, and now he's driving it again. It was just a corrosion on one of the contacts from the battery to the
to the coil.
fuse box.
Oh, okay.
There was corrosion on that connector there, so I cleaned it up, took the connector housing and stuff off, cleaned it up, put it back together, fires up, runs no problem.
Yeah.
No issues with it. So he thought it was going to be like serious electrical work it needed and all that.
Oh, it needed some serious electrical work, all right.
Yeah. About 5 minutes of it, and I charged up the battery and
Yeah.
first
And he was
try-
happy with the condenser too, eh?
Oh yeah. Yep, got the condenser in there. Yeah, turns out he had one. So
Did you tell him the story I told you?
yeah, I can't remember it now, but I told him.
The kid that used to run the garage out there in Wainfleet?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the get the
Get
tune-up
tune-up
kits from China.
kits from Canadian Tire and offshore ones, the ones they started getting from China.
Yep.
So half the time, car wouldn't run on it.
Yep. It happens.
I
Even when I
know.
was,
I was never so happy when I went. I had timed that thing, and it would run enough that it was just like it was misfiring. You know,
Mhm.
and it's like, well, it's got to be timing. You know, so check again. Well, did I get that strobe right? Did I? You know, I did the timing like 3 times, and every time it was the same thing. The kid just walked up and said, "Huh." That drove us crazy too. He said we always picked up an extra condenser when we got a tune-up kit.
yeah.
So cheap, and I went down to Davies there, or Coley's I should say, and picked up a condenser, went back, took the old one out, put the new one in, cap back on, away you go. Fucking was timed perfectly by that time.
Yeah. No, the truck, it had spark, it had fuel, and it had air. And it would crank and sound like it really wanted to start, like it was really trying to start.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it would
I know
fire
that
a couple
sound.
times, and then it would just die.
Yeah.
And then it would flood itself.
But that's stuff that you don't know. But like we had
Yeah.
that really cold snap. That's when I figured out about the alternators.
Oh yeah, with your Civic, yeah.
Yeah. You know, and how it was screaming. And it sounds like a belt screaming.
Yep, it does.
But, you know, or a cat stuck in the belt. You know, the high pitch. And it only happened, and I was walking down to McLeod's. I was picking the truck up or something, and there was another car in the parking lot, and he was trying to start his car. It was a cold, cold morning, and it was doing the exact same thing. And I go, yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah, we had that issue with our Civic, and we had all the belts replaced and everything, and Grandma's just like, you know, I don't feel safe in it. I feel like a belt's going to come off when I'm driving down the road. And the mechanic shop, you know, inspected the belt, so there's nothing wrong with the belts. They're not slipping, they're not doing anything. We don't know what it is. So she sold the car. When she could have fixed it with a couple $100 alternator, and we still have the car and still be running.
Or you could find out why the alternator is making that noise. With mine, it was that there was a body ground wire that was broken, and I don't know if it was going to ground or just not maintaining a good enough ground or what, but it was sending the message to the alternator to, you know, and it was putting it out of sync, like, you know, it was fighting itself.
Yeah.
And it was screaming doing it.
Yeah. No, she just redid the entire rear suspension on that car the week before she got rid of it.
Yeah.
She sat in the driveway, first cold snap, and started doing that screaming noise. She's just like, that's it, I'm getting a new car. And by the end of the week, she had a new car. She wasn't going to put up with it for another year. She'd put up with it for 2 or 3 years, and nobody could figure it out. So she got a new car by the end of the week. She put $1,000 into it, and she put $1,000 into it the week before she sold it, and they only gave her $800.
And she spent $100,000 now trying to get out of the mess.
Yeah. Oh, that car she bought was a piece of shit. It was terrible. You know, Honda used to make good cars, but not anymore.
Who did?
Honda.
Oh. No, I think they're seeing the decline of the industry. They made good cars to take over the market.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was entirely Honda's fault. I think it was partially the governments of the world's fault for putting these ridiculous emission standards on companies. So they pushed experimental engines out to market before they were ready. And that was the issue with Honda, is they pushed their 1.5 liter turbo out before it was ready. And it had all sorts of issues. As I said, we had 3 engines in that car in 60,000 K. And that's not an isolated incident. If you go online and read about it, lots of people had to put lots of engines in their cars because of that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the CRV, it was the Civic, the Accord, the CRV, like, it was bad. For their new model they brought out, the, what is it called? Not CRV, HRV, I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
They actually went back to the old engine, one that they had before the engine they put in everything. And now they've gone hybrid for absolutely everything. You can't buy one that's not hybrid now. And what they've done is they've taken the turbocharger off the 1.5 to make it a naturally aspirated, and they're not having the issues with it anymore. So that's the engine they're pairing with the hybrid system. The issues was with the turbocharger.
What was it you were telling me about Volkswagen and the batteries? The batteries that they made. Now, didn't they just dump $13 billion into an electric battery plant out in St. Thomas?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the batteries they're making now are catching fire on boats, and they burned up a whole bunch of cars coming from Europe because the battery short-circuited and caught fire, and it basically set the entire boat on fire, and now the boat's sinking. Yeah, it's not good.
This is what Trudeau invested in, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, what I don't get is Audi and Volkswagen are the same company, right? They have basically the same parts, the same...
Yeah, it's like Cadillac and Chevrolet.
Yeah.
Both GM products.
Yeah. A lot of the base model Audi share the same engines as Volkswagen, and even, part numbers like belly pan bolts and wheel bearings and brakes and stuff like that. They're the exact same stuff that's on the Volkswagen side, right? I don't get it. Audi has a very successful electric car in the e-tron. They don't have those issues. And then Volkswagen comes out with the ID3 and the ID4, and they have a whole bunch of battery issues, right? Why couldn't they just take the successful no-issue battery from Audi and put it in the Volkswagen? They do that with a lot of other stuff. Why couldn't they do that with the battery? It would save them a lot of R&D. It would save them...
And so, what all cars are these batteries that are blowing up? Like
the ID4s, Volkswagen.
Yeah, but how widespread is it?
Every single ID4 ever made has a recall for the battery. They have to basically take the battery out of the car, go through each individual cell, and then replace any cells that have to be replaced. Now, there's that. And then the vehicles that had actually had that recall already completed now have a recall on the recall because the cells that they put in are still affected by the same problem, and they don't have a fix for it yet. So they put a stop cell on all electric vehicles right now. They cannot be sold and delivered until this is fixed. And now they're talking that the ID7 is supposed to be coming out next year with a whole new battery system. So maybe they fixed it, maybe they haven't in this new battery system. So maybe they're waiting on this new battery system.
Or maybe it's going to cost them too much to fix it.
Right. Yeah, it's ridiculous. The amount of crap that goes on with electric vehicles now, it's ridiculous. And this is the future? I don't want to work in the industry if that's the future, because it's just going to be a load of shit. Look at Tesla. They're having quality control issues. They're not having issues with their batteries or motors, but they're having issues with the interiors of the car and the glass and all that stuff. Like the interiors of the cars, people are literally getting in them for the first time. The car has 0 kilometers or 0 miles on the odometer, and the interior is already falling apart. The headliner is already starting to sag. It doesn't really have a headliner, but the things on the side are already starting to sag because it's glass, the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
The parts that are the trim that is still fabric is starting to sag. The leather seats are like ripping and tearing so easy, and they're not good.
Yeah, you pay $250,000 for a car, or $500,000 for a car.
Yeah, the prices are just getting ridiculous on cars now. Like, guy down the street bought himself a new Toyota 4Runner, like a 2023 model. The car listed, so MSRP on it was $68,000. He walked out the door with $145,000 with tax for a base model, which is ridiculous. You're paying basically $150,000 for like a $60,000 car. You're paying more than double what the car is worth because dealer markups. And the other thing is about Toyota. What about Priuses? I wanted to order a Prius or a hybrid RAV4, right? No. Out here in Ontario, you're waiting 2, 3, 4 years for one, but out in BC, they just have them on the lot. And when I called Toyota Canada about that, they're like, well, BC has better incentives for us, so we allot more to BC. So basically, the government is paying Toyota to send them to BC instead of the rest of the country. And then BC won't sell any to anyone that's from outside of BC. So they're there, but you can't get your hands on them.
And this is the Prius.
This is any electric vehicle by Toyota. Electric, hybrid, whatever you want to call it. Plug-in hybrid. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And what was it you were saying about the diesel? And per week, like you can only have, what, 15 liters of diesel or something?
20 liters.
20 liters?
Yeah, they're going to start doing fuel rationing to get people to go electric. You get 30 liters of gas a week, and you get 20 liters of diesel a week in BC now. Which is ridiculous. 30 liters. Like, look at our friend out there. 30 liters, gets her to do her grocery shopping, but if she has to do anything else, she's screwed. She can't do anything else.
Because where she lives.
Yeah.
In Kamloops.
Yeah. If she has to go to Vancouver for a doctor's appointment, that's a 3-4 hour trip down the Coquihalla. That's going to take a lot more than 30 liters of gas. What are you going to do? Save up a couple weeks worth of gas in jerry cans and stuff? And stop yourself from eating because you can't go grocery shopping? Like, it's not a fix.
Has it started yet?
It's not started yet. I think it's starting next year or the year after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not going to affect us?
No, I don't think so.
As long as it's this June that we pick up the truck.
Yeah. Literally. No, it's
Yeah, but like you say, like to get a car that comes in, brand new car, you go to the dealer and you tell them it's got trouble stopping when I'm coming off the highway.
Oh yeah, like my Nissan.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
It's pulling and the brakes just don't feel right. They feel spongy. The brakes don't feel right. Oh no, it stops fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Take it to another auto mechanic shop, third party shop. They take it out for a test drive. Oh, it stops fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I end up going, okay, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna just fix the brakes myself. I'll inspect them, see what's wrong, and just fix it. I start taking it apart. 3 brake pads on the front. You're supposed to have 4, 2 per rotor. I only had 3 total. I had 2 on the.
Yeah, I remember that was crazy. Isn't that the same car that the motor mount fell out?
No, the engine fell out of it because it didn't have a motor mount from factory. Like missing brake pads and a motor mount from factory. Oh, that was bad. And Nissan didn't want to acknowledge any of it.
Well, they still don't want to acknowledge it.
No. And my grandmother's car, she had the Nissan Rogue, and it kept jumping into first gear. Driving down the highway, first gear. The tachometer literally went off. Like, it went off the tachometer, the needle. Like, that's definitely damaging the engine. You're definitely overspeeding it. Valves probably hit the pistons and got bent and
who knows what all.
Yeah, and they didn't want to acknowledge it. They're just like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but if I go to Welland and I pull into the parking lot and it's just smoking, I think the car's on fire. There should be something wrong with it.
Oh yeah, no. Car was overheated. Like, we drove it from our house here over to the Nissan dealer, which really is not very far, right? Legs are cramping. Yeah, up 6, 7, 8,000 RPM because it's in first gear and won't come out of first gear. Driving over there, and guys like, oh, there's nothing wrong with it. What do you mean? Like, it's overheated, for one. You can smell it. And when we pull in, I tell you, meet us outside. He met us outside. And I pull in at 5,000, 6,000 RPM. Like, can you not hear that there's something wrong? Can you not smell? Can you not like look at the gauges and say there's something wrong? No, there's nothing wrong. And then we go inside, and the general manager there says, well, you got to learn how to shift the car. It's a fucking automatic. You put it in drive. But you got to learn how to shift the car. Like...
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And then she ends up getting a Ford, right? Hybrid. It's a piece of shit. It doesn't... Drinks coolant. Like, we've probably put, I don't know, 10 liters of coolant in it in the last 6 months. Like, you're supposed to be able to drive a car
Yeah, and the little check engine wrench comes up on the dash.
Oh, yeah,
and you start losing power.
Yeah, when you check it on the Ford app, it says engine malfunction detected, reduced power. And then you pop the hood and you check your coolant levels, like, oh, I don't have any coolant.
And then you got a dealer in Welland that says,
oh, that's normal.
oh, no, that's normal, everything's fine. And you say, well, yeah, but they're recalled for this exact thing in the States. Oh, yeah, but that's the States and they're different.
Oh, the engine's completely different. Bullshit.
Shit. Yeah.
It's the same engine. No, it's...
Yeah.
Like right now, I have to go buy more coolant. When I was working at Volkswagen, I stocked up on coolant. I got like three gallons of concentrate. 3 gallons. That's like what? 12 liters of concentrate, and that goes 1 gallon concentrate can make 4 liters of coolant, right?
Mm-hmm.
4 gallons of coolant. I've gone through what? I've gone through 44. Yeah, 44.
And are they going to fix it? Has Welland admitted that there's anything wrong yet?
No, they just say, "Oh, bring it in and top it up," and they never provide us a work order. I got on their ass last time, and they provided us a work order because I want to take this to Ford and go, look, there's something wrong with your car.
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't want to admit it, and the longer that they can hold off on the recall,
then the warranty goes out of it, and then then you're screwed. No, it's gone through what, 44 liters of coolant since I started at Volkswagen, which was what, 3 months ago?
I haven't put 44 liters of coolant in that truck since 2004.
Yeah.
Or 2008, since I owned it.
Yeah. 44 liters of coolant in 3 months. That's ridiculous.
I think it burns a bit off. Like, I notice it, like, every 6 months I have to put in, like, a liter or so.
Which is not great, but that's more acceptable.
You know, it's like, or maybe once a year. Usually in the winter, yeah, and if I've done a lot of driving in really hot weather, I think it actually builds up enough pressure that it blows some off.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. I don't know.
And I'll notice that like in the winter, like my heater's not working very good. I check my level, and yeah, sure enough.
Yeah, when we went to Toronto, the heat would barely blow.
Yeah.
And we came back and filled it up, and it blows nice and strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's bad. And then you have my Accord, which ended up having a similar issue to the CRV. It blew out the turbo, so that had to be replaced. So they did that. And then it blew the engine shortly after, and Honda didn't want to cover it, even though it was still under warranty. They're like, oh, this car's already had 2 engines. We're not putting a third in it. It's like, well, I haven't had the car for that long. I've only had the car for 5,000 K. I didn't own it when it had the other 2 engines put into it. Oh, we don't care. They didn't want to cover the engine. So I got rid of that car with a blown engine, which is bullshit. I got really shafted on that.
Well, actually, you came out smelling like a rose.
Well, yeah, but on that transaction between the Accord and the Maverick, I got shafted because it was a blown engine and Honda didn't want to cover it under warranty. when they should have, because it still had warranty on it.
But you still got 30-some grand for the car, didn't you?
Nope. No. I paid 30 odd grand for it, and I sold it for like 14.
Oh, I thought you got like your asking price. I thought you had it all, the deal all set up.
No. That was for the truck. That's for the Maverick, to the car I have now. No, so I got the Maverick, and that thing would not start. Started fine for a couple of days, and you turn the key and it goes click.
Yeah, now we had the battery issues.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a battery issue. They replaced the battery 7 times in 2 months. So I had 7, well, if you include the original battery, I had 8 batteries in 2 months. And they did draw tests and everything, and they couldn't figure it out. So when I sold it, I ended up getting a hell of a lot more than I paid for it. I ended up getting this car, which was a car that cost $15,000 more than the Maverick did, and I got money back. So that was how I came out ahead on that one.
Yeah.
They ended up, I went in there for an oil change, and they said, oh yeah, have an issue starting it. Yeah, well, that sucks. And they said, yeah, we ended up testing it, and it needs a new radio. The radio wasn't shutting down. It was just constantly drawing on the battery and wrecking the batteries.
It needs a new radio.
Yeah. So they ended up going to Ford with Hyundai's diagnostics and said, look, we need a new radio. Like, this is what it needs. This is our diagnostics. This was our process. And Ford sold them a radio under warranty. So they just put one in, and now it starts fine every time. So
There you go.
yeah, it was a nice truck when it was running. When it would start, sorry. When the truck would start, it was a really nice truck. I do miss it, but
Yeah. But you've got the little red Volkswagen now,
yeah.
and that was an experience.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a good little car.
Yeah, hey, if it gets you,
It's fine.
if it gets you efficiently from A to B, it's everything you need.
I've driven that car all over Hell's Half Acre right now, and I haven't had to put any gas in it. I've probably done 800K on it, and it's only at half a tank.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I checked to make sure it wasn't just the float getting hung up on something, and I pushed the car around a lot and sloshed it, and no, it's half a tank. So it's pretty good. Pretty good kilometers on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is that enough for our interview recording testing?
Yeah, do you want to talk about your truck from Japan?
Okay, well, tell me about my truck from Japan. Tell me how fast it's going to go.
It's going to go quick.
Yeah.
It's either going to go pretty slow or it's going to go pretty fast, depending on what transmission's in it. We'll find that out when it gets here. If it has the city transmission, it's going to top out at like 120, 130. But if it has the highway transmission in it, it'll do like 200K. Over 200K. So one's geared for city, one's geared for highway. So we'll find out.
Yeah.
When it gets here. Because if it's in on the 3rd, that means we'll be leaving this week. If it's in on the 13th, we leave next week. right?
Well, or the week after.
Or the week after.
Yeah, like if it's supposed to be here on the 13th, all well and good. You know, we have 10 days to get there.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, we can look for a flight in that 10-day period that will be, you know, maybe more suitable than other
Yeah.
ones.
Well, we have 10 days to get it, but I think in reality we only have 9. Because if we go on that 10th day and then we have issues with paperwork, then
No, I'm not saying use up all the 10 days. I'm just saying
Yeah.
there's a margin there
yeah.
that we can look for, you know, cheaper flights maybe or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a few days there. As long as I'm thinking like if it's there, maybe go for the 15th or so would be ideal.
Yeah. That way we can get all the paperwork in order and everything, and we don't have to worry about, you know, oh shit, it's got to be out of there tonight or tomorrow morning or something.
Right.
Yeah. No, I said I've called Brian a couple times, no answer. Send him an email, send him a text message, but we will find out.
Yeah, he'll get back to us.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he will eventually. Yeah, so. Here's a question. What made you order one from Japan?
You?
Me?
Yeah, you started talking to me about, you know, the fuel and this and that, and then I don't know, you brought it up, and it just seemed to make sense. So I thought, well, hey,
I'm a good salesman, eh?
yeah,
Talk to Brian about getting commission on that.
yeah.
No, Dave.
No, it just makes sense. Like I said to Joni, I says if this works out, I said I sell the one I got here, covers a good part of the cost of it, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and I says it's probably the last vehicle I'll need to buy.
Yeah.
You
There
know,
you
because if I drive it for another, like, until I get as many kilometers on it as this,
I mean, I think if it's as good on gas as it's supposed to be, you'll probably blow past the kilometers on this pretty quick.
Mhm.
You'll probably be taking it for longer trips.
I took a lot of long trips with this,
Yeah.
and towing the trailer and everything. I mean, like that truck, hands down, is the best vehicle I ever had.
Yeah.
The only problem is it uses a lot of gas.
Yeah. Well, if it gets the fuel economy it's supposed to get, the entire trip across Canada is going to be, what, 2 or 3 tanks of diesel?
Yeah.
Like, it's not bad. How many
Yeah.
would it take you in this thing? Probably like 20, 30?
Takes me, yeah, with pulling the trailer and a full load of people, it was like my average was down to like, say 450 kilometers for a fill up.
Yeah, and you got a pretty big tank on there. It's not a small
25 gallon.
Hmm?
It's only 25 gallon or whatever. 100 liters or something.
Yeah, that's a pretty big tank. My car only has an 8-gallon tank on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
on the smaller side, but still.
My Bronco, actually, I had the motor redone in that, took the air conditioner, went on it, so I took that out, put an idler in instead. And I was getting like 700-800 kilometers on
Yeah.
a fill up.
I think I could get better in my car, but it's just, it weighs so much. The only way to get better in mine is just shed weight out of it.
Mhm.
It just weighs a lot. It's decently aerodynamic. Like, it's not bad. But no.
Yeah, I think your car does good enough.
Yeah, I'm getting about 70 miles to the gallon right now, so
Yeah.
it's a lot better than yours.
Oh yeah.
Well, if Joni ever needs another vehicle and this one works out, you know where to get one.
One what?
Another vehicle for Joan.
What? A Golf?
No, you can order one from Japan.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm thinking about it.
no, I don't think Joni's going to need another vehicle.
No.
For the amount that she uses that, the low mileage on it and everything, it's still in good shape.
Yeah.
I mean, she's 75 now, and she's, she doesn't want to drive to Grenby. She
No.
did it a couple times, but
It's a
Big-
long drive.
that's a big deal for her.
It's like probably a 10 or 11 hour drive. It's not
Well, you can do it in 7 or 8 hours,
7 or 8 hours,
or maybe less, depending,
depending how fast you go, right?
Yeah,
Well, from Pearson,
and whether or not you get caught.
yeah, from Pearson to Montreal is 8 hours. And
No,
Taylor
it's
says,
not.
That's what the GPS says.
Well, the GPS is lying to you.
Yeah.
Because Grenby is past Montreal by about
Yeah.
45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And I can make Grenby in 6.5, 7 hours. From here,
Yeah.
not from Pearson.
No.
So that's another 40 minutes. So your estimate's is out by like at least 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, that could be with Toronto traffic and stuff. In peak rush hour.
I don't
Because
know.
I know for a fact, because we did this before, you can leave Toronto and drive for 3 hours and still be in Toronto.
Drive for 3 hours from Toronto.
And still be in Toronto.
Is Newcastle
No.
still
we
Toronto?
left my aunt's apartment on Wellesley, right?
Yeah.
And we had to go to Scarborough. That took us 3
Oh,
hours.
hey, I've been 3 hours getting across Toronto before.
Yeah. As I
Yeah.
said, you can leave Toronto
Mm-hmm.
and drive for 3 hours and still be in Toronto.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was picturing 3 hours on the 401.
No, not the 401.
You'd be pretty much in Kingston.
Yeah. It's only like 3 or 4 hours from here to Kingston. It's not too bad.
4 hours.
Or it's about an hour and a half on a boat. So,
I know Joni and I did it in a boat.
yeah.
We took off from Queenston
Mhm.
and we went across to Bald Head at the Murray Canal and up there, up through the Bay of Quinte, and then into Kingston.
Yeah.
Blew the motor on the Chrysler. I had a 135 Chrysler on the boat at that time.
Mhm.
Ended up taking the train back, getting the trailer, going back, picking Joni and the boat up. Come back and went down and seen Tim Nichols. I got a 150 Force put on, and it blew a ring like within a month of me having it.
Yeah.
So I took it back and worked out a deal with Tim, and we put a 150 Merc on it, a Black Max. That's a motor that I was telling you about that made that boat go.
Yeah. Maybe it was underrated. The motor.
That 150 really went. It was a V6.
As I say, maybe they underrated it in horsepower.
Yeah, I don't know. There's different ways of rating. Like they rate them, at the power head, or they rate them at the prop, or whatever. But
Yeah.
there was some
They
confusion about that.
Yeah, they do that with cars now. A lot of the muscle cars, like the Camaro and the Corvette and stuff, they'll measure horsepower at the wheels. But in like your everyday road car, they measure it at the crank.
Yeah.
So in theory, my car has 250 horsepower, but to the wheels, it's probably only got like 160 or something.
Yeah, a friend of mine worked at Natico. I think he got a Dodge Demon or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
a muscle car.
Yep.
And then, the job came to an end and the big paycheck stopped and he decided to sell the car. The guy took it for a test drive and totaled it.
Oh,
Couldn't handle the power.
yeah. Oh yeah, those the Dodge Demon now, they're discontinuing that. They're putting out a last model. I think it's called the Last Call. It's ridiculous.
But it was crazy. And another friend of mine had a car, Dodge, a Super B, I think they called it. Yeah, Super B, that's what it was. It had a B decal on it, and scoop, but he had a lot of trouble with that car.
Mm-hmm.
When it would go, it could go.
Yeah.
But
this car from factory, their Last Call version has 1,025 horsepower to the rear wheels. That's not measured at the crank. That's measured at the rear wheels. That's ridiculous. From factory, it's tunable. There's people out there pushing 2,000 horsepower out of these engines for the Last Call version. It's ridiculous. And the factory also offers an E85 tune, which is like high performance fuel, right? Which pushes it to 1,818 horsepower, 1,245 pound-feet of torque to the rear wheels.
How do they keep it on the ground?
I don't know, but this thing is ridiculous. I think it's just like it's the Hellcat engine, right? So I think it's like a 7 point something or an 8 point something. I could be completely wrong, but I'm looking it up.
How would that stack up or race against that Audi that you were talking about with the red and the black key?
Oh, the Audi would still blow it away in a quarter mile.
Oh, easy, eh?
Yeah, because that much power just to the rear wheels is just too much. That Audi only had like, I don't know, 500-600 horsepower, but it's all-wheel drive. So it has a lot more traction off the line.
Okay.
So it would beat it off the line. But top speed, the Demon will, yeah. Talking straight line speed, the Demon is ridiculous.
Yeah, I wonder how fast these cars would go. Do they put them on the salt flats and check them?
I don't know.
Did you ever see that Anthony Hopkins movie called The Indian?
No.
He's a New Zealander or whatever. And he's got an old bike. I forget. I think it was a Norton.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. But he kept working at it, developing the pistons and trying different materials and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think I've seen
And
it.
eventually he wanted to challenge, the
speed record, and they wouldn't let him do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But he found a way to do it.
Yeah.
It was quite an adventure.
Yeah. Here you go. The 2023 Dodge Charger or Challenger Demon. The street legal side of it has a limited top speed of 215 miles per hour. The track side of it, the unlimited version, has a top speed of 257 miles per hour. So that is ridiculously fast.
But that Audi, you were saying it was doing over 300.
Kilometers an hour. It can do.
Kilometers, yeah.
Yeah, I can look it up though. The Audi R8 V10 had 550 horsepower, and the top speed of it is, the limited top speed is 197 miles per hour. However, theoretically it could go 238 miles per hour, but there is a physical mechanical limiter on the engine.
And that's what switches off when you go to the red key?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. This thing was fun to drive.
Yeah, I think at 200 kilometers an hour plus, I think I'd rather be in the Audi than in the Demon.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd agree with you.
I would think like
The Audi's got like active aero on it, so like it has air brakes and it has all the The Dodge just has like regular friction brakes. Those will overheat pretty much instantly if you try and slow down from that speed.
not only that, but I think like just trying to steer it. Like the Audis that I've driven, they're all solid.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
on the
that
road.
Audi there, the R8 is quite aerodynamic. It is designed to go fast. So it has like it kind of looks like a wing, but reversed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say it's gonna have traction at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Demon literally looks like a brick. So.
Yeah.
And I do have to say the Audi sounds better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.